Welcome back to the DNA Pest Control Podcast 2024.
I love that you start with 2024.
Yeah, you know, I just got to try something different.
Yeah, it's all good.
Well, if you haven't listened to the first episode of the year that we threw out there, it is a short one, short and sweet. Go back and listen to it. But this episode is going to be more on a serious note, and also going back and looking at the past year and what we've done a little bit different. We really hope that this will relate to a lot of you who may be going through similar obstacles throughout the year, and what we've done and what we've learned to change those things. What's the famous quote? If you do something the same way over and over, that's the definition of insanity. Something like that.
Yeah, if you do the same thing expecting a different result.
There we go. Yeah. You're doing the same thing expecting different results. Insanity. And what's cool is we've both been on the same page about change and changing and constantly changing and constantly improving and focusing on those improvements. And the big one, it all started back when I went to the Safety Summit. I talked about it on the last episode. That was one of, it was actually it was the first one they ever did. And they actually have another one coming out this year. So they are going to keep going with it, it sounds like.
I saw that. It's February in Austin.
Is it? No, they have another one in Miami.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm thinking of the wildlife.
Oh, that one's in Dallas.
Dallas, yeah.
Yeah, Dallas. Yeah, so they're going to keep going with it, but it was really cool because it did shed a lot of light on the importance of safety and how much the industry's hit with car wrecks and property damage and things like that, as well as bodily injury, you know, from technicians. And they talked even about technicians not able to work, you know, not even just, okay, they got in a car wreck and the truck's wrecked. No, now they're not even able to be in a vehicle. So now you don't have a guy to work, you know, so that's a huge factor too. And really understanding that. And what we went through on some of the past episodes is we literally had no car wrecks for the first 7 years, like none, literally zero. And then out of nowhere, it was just like back to back to back to back, backing into a tree, ripping out a fence, rear-ending somebody, getting swiped by another vehicle that hit us. It was just one thing after another, after another, after another.
Yeah.
It was absolutely crazy, but it really brought us to rethink what we're doing and how we're doing things in the business and around driving and safety. What have we been doing? You know?
Systems.
Yeah.
Policies. Punishments and rewards.
Yep.
For good and bad behavior.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You mentioned in the last episode taking feelings out of it, which is something that I had a really hard time with in the beginning because I like to see the greatest in everybody, which isn't a bad thing, but I had to keep that in check a little bit better and enforce when I needed to.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest change is our driving.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, in that, you know, what I did hit on, you know, towards the end of the last episode about taking the feelings out of it is I am a sucker for that, right? I get a lot of joy out of seeing people progress, seeing people grow. The hard thing is you don't get to decide whether they grow or not, which sucks because you want them to.
Of course.
You're putting everything for them to, and they just don't do it, you know, which leads into kind of the big thing that we had this last year was a lot of personnel changes.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And we created the success. We even pre-warned a couple people. Summer's going to be really good. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be phenomenal. You're going to do it's going to be easy. And then winter hits and it's going to slow down. We pre-warn them. And in the summer, it's great. And the winter, they crashed and burned. And we warned you. We told you. You knew this was going to happen. You knew this was going to come up. You know, so even though you want the best in someone, it's really hard to accept it, but you can't decide for them. Mm-mm. There's nothing we can do. Mm-hmm. And so learning that now and looking at, the business company in a whole different sense of we're professionals. We're pros. We're not amateurs. This isn't the freaking turkey bowl on Thanksgiving with your family.
Yeah.
We're a pro team, and that's what it is.
Yeah.
There's consequences. You want to go drive drunk and run into a back of a girl and catch the car on fire and kill her? Well, guess what? As a wide receiver, you're probably going to get cut and you're going to lose millions.
Yeah.
And you're going to go to prison.
Yeah.
Just, it is what it is, dude.
Sorry,
you broke the rules.
Yeah.
Yep. But that's what it is. Mm-hmm. You suck. Zach Wilson. Sorry, dude. Mm-hmm. You suck, but that's what it is. Yeah. You're going to get cut. You're going to get benched. You're going to get moved around. You're going to go to another team. Now, your opportunity may not be gone, but you're going to lose that opportunity. And that's what, that's where it came in with some of these personnel changes. What did you see with that?
What did I see? I saw a lot of stuff. I think I learned a lot more than I saw. I saw myself, like you said, seeing the best in people. People would sell themselves and talk about experiences and how it would translate to what we're doing here. And, when we were pulling on talent, whether that was in the office or that was on the technician side of things, things seem so lined up for people to grow and thrive in their position. And it was frustrating at the time when they would just take that opportunity and drive it off of a cliff, whether it was like mindset or just the lack of knowledge or just someone straight up lying during the interview process, saying how they can take on certain things or they enjoy doing certain things when really they hate it. Mm-hmm. So I think you say, what did I see the most? I saw, obviously, the ability to see red flags early on. I start to see signs of somebody on their way out pretty quickly.
Oh, yeah.
Just certain conversations, I've kind of taken over, the technician side of it, training, onboarding, and like maintenance throughout and their career progression here. And just certain keywords, key behavioral patterns. Mm-hmm. They say one thing, do certain things, and I'm able to associate that and make a plan of action. But I think I saw the most, I guess it was a good mirror on just like how I am and how I operate and how I can't expect that of other people. I have to take feelings out of it, like you were saying.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a mirror, right? I mean, we look at it and we see it and we want the best and we hope the best and we see the potential, and there's so many people with so much potential. We even had a guy in here, he was a tech, and it was, we said it a lot. It was right person, wrong time. Mm-hmm. They're great. I can't say anything bad. Yeah. As a tech, as an employee, they absolutely sucked. They were a terrible person when it came to work and to scheduling and to stealing hours and things like that. When it came to the technician work, the actual physical work, spraying a home, rodent exclusion, great. Mm-hmm. Great.
Communicating with the customers. He was awesome.
Communicating with the customers, getting 5-star reviews. Yeah. I mean, they were happy, but he was a terrible person outside of that.
Yeah.
Dishonest. There was a lot of things that were bad.
Yeah.
And manipulative, trying to change it. And that's some of the red flags and hiccups that we got to see over the years. And really this last year was a big one, is we started putting our foot down and saying, we're done. We're done with the bullshit. We're done with the lies. We're done with that. Mm-hmm. You're here or you're not.
Yeah.
We start hearing things. Okay, you're on your way out. We hear that. We will push you out. We will get you out. Mm-hmm. You're not going to be here for very long. And it was actually a good thing to see that. And ego gets in the way sometimes because we get excited about somebody, we hire them and we're like, yeah. And then it's like they suck, but we're like, no, but they're still good. Even though they suck, we're on their side. And there's actually a great video that's circulating about Gary Vee who talks about it. A guy talks about hiring somebody. I don't know if you've seen it. But he says that he's about to say something and Gary Vee's like, stop what you're saying. He's like, our ego gets in the way of, because we chose that person, we hired that person. So if we fire them, we failed. And he's like, stop. Leave your ego out of it. You will never know if they're good. You don't know. And then he goes on to tell his personal story that year that he hired a guy for hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. He had him on he did 3 separate interviews with him, reference checks, everything. I mean, literally everything you could do. 3 interviews, hired him on. He was on for a day or 3 days or something like that. And then he fired him because he sucked. And he's like, you have to learn how to fire fast.
Yeah.
He's like, because you do not know. And you go into professional sports, you don't know. You have the first round draft pick that always sucks. And they keep doing it.
Yeah.
They haven't even learned. And they have years of footage of this kid playing at an excellent level to bring them on a professional team to suck for a decade or more.
Yeah.
It's like, it doesn't matter what you think you saw or what you think you know, because you can't dictate whether they're going to do good or they're going to do bad.
Yeah.
You just have to pick up on the bad signs, the red flags. Are they willing to learn? Are they willing to change? Are they willing to grow? And if they're not, you just got to cut ties, or you put them in a position where it doesn't matter. We got a fry cook. You press the button, you put the frozen fries in the thing, you drop it into the oil, and you let it cook. When the timer sounds, you got to go and grab it, right? 5-year-old can figure that out.
Yeah.
That's where those people go.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to better themselves. They don't want to grow. And that was a huge one with the personnel changes. As we saw that, we started understanding the red flags, which then started creating the new systems that we now have in place, right? What are some of those systems?
Some of the good ones, or some of my favorite ones, are obviously the driver safety. So we have systems keeping all drivers across the board accountable, including myself, because I'm out on the road, where we have a minimum weekly average for a driving score. We make sure that your weekly average is at the team set weekly average or better. I think the punishment and reward system we've implemented is very fair for that. Other systems that we're implementing are specialty treatment checklists, just to make sure that things are being done properly, things are being done as they're being sold initially to property management.
Yeah.
For example, for those of you listening, let's say I am going into an apartment complex to sell, German cockroach treatments, and I break down everything that we do or what's included with the treatment. In the past, we were allowing the technicians to go in and treat, and we trained them properly on that. And even though the steps were there during the training, as time went on, they may have formulated their own ways to do certain things, or deemed certain things aren't as necessary. So taking feelings out of it, we've created checklists where you're going to have to go in and check off all the little boxes, and everybody sign it, upload the document, send it to the office, send it to their management, because we're better than that, or we're better than mediocre. You know, and I tell you this a lot, like the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. It's like you're going to shortchange an apartment complex here, shortchange a restaurant here. You're going to lie about going into a backyard and actually checking the bait box at a property, and then 3, 4, 10, 20, 50 cancellations come up, and you realize why you're just kind of stagnant over the year, and it's in the details. And I think it's just making sure everybody's on the same page and it's being enforced and monitored, but then rewarded when it is being completed and they go above and beyond.
Yes. And that's hard. Even when we started that is a hard concept to understand. and I'll break it down for some of the management and some of the owners. It's if you do a bad job, you get fired. If you get fired, you now lost that money and that revenue. If you lost that revenue, that means there's less money coming into the business, which means less and harder to pay rent, pay gas, pay for vehicles, pay your guys. Okay, there's a consequence for doing a bad job. And a lot of us want to give a reward for doing a good job, but we don't want to give a punishment for doing a bad job. And in this world, what's crazy is fire's hot. If you touch fire, what's going to happen? You get burnt.
You're going to burn, yeah.
You're going to burn your hand. That's the consequence.
Yeah.
It's natural. It's nature. We can't change that.
Yeah.
You will never take that away. If you touch fire with your bare hand and you put it in there long enough, not quickly, if you put it in long enough, you will get burnt.
Yeah.
There's no way around it. Bare hand, no gloves, no what ifs, right? Get rid of that. We'll tell you the story behind that later someday. But it is, right? There's a consequence in today's society for life for certain things.
Yeah.
You fall down hard enough, you're going to probably get hurt.
Yeah.
You jump off of a 3-story building, knees locked, you're going to break your legs.
Yeah.
There's no way around it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't care how fluffy the world is. It's like, well, but the world shouldn't break my legs. It doesn't work that way. In business, we have to keep it that way as well. We have to understand if a technician or an office personnel or somebody does something wrong, there needs to be a punishment, because there's a punishment on the company, whether you like it or not. There is. That's what these guys and so many people don't understand. And today, and even our personnel, they didn't understand that. We have a tech. He wants to be a manager. He wants to be a manager in an area. There's not enough people in that area to become a manager. How do I create a position so that you can manage yourself? It doesn't work.
No.
But they need to understand that.
Yeah.
There's not enough money in that area. There's not enough technicians to even manage and to take on that responsibility. So that position cannot be created. If growth is there, we will eventually have that position created. If growth is not there, it's not going to be created. If we start to shrink, it's less. That position will get taken away because it's not needed. That's what people don't understand.
Yeah.
They don't understand the benefits and then the consequences. You know, the cause and effect.
Yeah.
Every action, there's a reaction. So many people don't understand that concept, and they don't want it, because in today's society, you can't do any wrong because everyone has to think the same way you think, or they're wrong, or they're bad.
Yeah.
There's not that consequence. If you go and you start saying the wrong thing to the wrong person, you're probably going to get slapped or hit. There's a consequence, and you can't control it. You know, so that's a big thing that we saw. And with these red flags, we saw the consequences that kept coming and hitting us prior to taking action. And so we did start taking action on those red flags. We did start preparing, hey, let's go find someone and hire someone. So by the time that guy was out, we already had someone here. We knew he was on his way out. We just didn't know when. And consequences caught up and bit him in the ass because he was stealing hours. And it was, well, what do you expect?
Yeah.
Now you're going to get let go, but we already have someone ready, so we don't care anyway.
Doesn't even matter.
And that was actually, it was, I think it hurt a lot of guys here, technicians.
I think so too.
But it also was a really cool thing because I finally had the conversation where a guy said, it feels like I'm replaceable. And it's like, yes, yes, you are.
Yeah.
Everyone is.
I tell the guys all the time, I'm like, I'm replaceable.
Everybody is. I am.
Yeah.
What if I die? It's not like everything's going to stop.
Yeah.
It's not going to, it doesn't work that way. Mr. Henry Ford died. Did Ford just like stop?
Yeah.
It didn't.
No.
It keeps going. Everyone's replaceable. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're the owner, you're the creator. Apple's still alive. The creator's dead and gone.
Yeah.
They're still alive and they're still going. You know, even with Walt Disney and all the crap they go through, they're still going. They're still alive.
Still chugging along.
Everybody's replaceable. Everybody will get replaced at some point because you can't live forever.
Yeah.
So you will die, you will go away, you will retire, and someone is going to take that position, and they're going to either do a good job or they're going to do a bad job, and they're going to get replaced.
Yeah.
You know, but that was a big thing that we understood. Guys got to see, guys got to feel, and we got to change it to this is a competitive place, and if you put in the effort, you'll get to see the reward. Mm-hmm. And if you don't, you're going to see the consequence now, because prior to all these changes, prior to 2023, 2022, 2021, it was all benefit, no consequence. Mm-hmm. And guys were getting away with murder.
Yep.
And that stopped, and it hurt. Mm-hmm. And they saw a lot of people come and go. And it was cool.
It was cool. And like you said, there's a general understanding between everybody here now. One thing I do want to hit on, something that we've done a lot better at, and we've used these experiences carrying over into what we're doing now, and we're going to continue doing it in next year, is the ability to make decisions quickly and efficiently and then enforce them. I mean, this is specifically with systems and policies and personnel things, which is huge. Like you said, fire fast. But, you know, I keep going back to the driving because it's so instantaneous how fast it changed. Mm-hmm. So we had some driving. We've been over some of the driving hiccups that we had. We've implemented camera systems in the car, yep. Which grades drivers, and then we kind of report back with them if they're under a certain level. There's punishments, but we actually had a meeting where we had an addendum coming up for this year. So for 2024, we sat down everybody in the company and said, okay, from this point moving forward, well, we started off with. I was a little bit soft in the beginning. I'm like, safety is the most important thing, is to protect yourself. But the real reality of it is people were just driving stupid, and we were getting sick of it.
Oh, yeah.
Little fender benders here, just not caring. So a week under a certain average driving score, getting written up. 2 weeks of that, you lose your truck privileges. 3 weeks of that, you're getting terminated. If anything happens in a vehicle, even someone backs into you, your door hits something, drug tested. If that happens and you're under a certain score, fired. Mm-hmm. Everyone was silent in the meeting.
Yep.
Everybody signed the agreement. The following week, our average jumped up from...
I think it was 200 points.
It went from a C average to an A minus average.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which was phenomenal.
Yep.
And I keep going back to that. I'm like, is that all it really takes? And it is.
It is, yeah.
It really is. People overcomplicate this kind of stuff so much. And it's like, do it. Do the thing. I was telling you about this before. It's like, just do the thing, you know?
Well, it goes back to people get so comfortable with what they have. Mm-hmm. And you see it. I go back to NFL because I follow college a lot.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of college football. So I'm seeing a lot of these guys and a lot of names that are popping up in the NFL. And I love the stories where you get backup quarterbacks, third string quarterbacks, practice squad quarterbacks that are now, they just get the opportunity by chance and they're killing it. Mm-hmm. And they show up and they're ready and they know what they're doing. And these teams get so comfortable in the aspect of, well, they're not terrible. They're not horrible.
Yeah.
So do I take the chance with a new guy who could suck, or do I keep this guy who's doing all right? Garoppolo's a great example.
I was just going to say, look at the Niners, dude.
Garoppolo's a great example. He's good enough. Could we get a guy on here to win a Super Bowl like Tom Brady because he wants to be on our team? Yeah. But Garoppolo's good enough, right? He's never done a Super Bowl. He's actually only been to the playoffs probably because his second string quarterback got him there because he was injured most of the time. Mm-hmm. But they're like, he's good enough. We're comfortable. Mm-hmm. We have a winning season. We're not going to do anything more than that, but we're good enough. Mm-hmm. We're going to stick with them. That's what I think is happening.
Yeah.
You get that in so many aspects with so many guys is it's good enough. We want to kind of tiptoe around what they're doing. Where when you do put that, hey, if your driving score's not here, sorry, bye. Because we see it. We actually saw it in real life. I already got pre-warned at the safety summit. They said, you have a D driver, you will get in a wreck. You cannot have D drivers. This is coming from a $1 billion company. Mm-hmm. We do not hire or hold on to D drivers. Even if they're A technicians, we fire them. We get rid of them. Immediately, we can't hold on to them. Mm-hmm. We know that they're going to get in a wreck.
Yeah.
And the likelihood of them getting in a wreck within the first year is like 90%.
Yeah.
You fire them as quickly as you can. Your score is not where it needs to be. Bye. Mm-hmm. See ya. Get out of here.
Go.
It's crazy. But that was the systems that we started implementing. We started coming back down and cracking down on what you're supposed to be doing. Are you doing other people's jobs? Right? Stay in your lane. Focus on what you need to focus on.
Yeah.
Do that. Once we started doing that, we also started seeing a big change. We started pulling things off of guys that they were not capable of doing. They weren't in that category. They said they knew how to do some stuff. We eventually pulled that off of them. They would do great at one thing. Oh, hey, I can do rodent estimates. And they would do good on one. And then they would suck on another and then do great and then suck and then do great. Once again, you're dealing with a D person. Mm-hmm. You cannot have D personnel in any category doing that. You can't have that. If they're all C's, great. B's better. A's even better. Mm-hmm. But you cannot have D's. You can't have F's. You can't have that.
Can't.
So creating all the systems that we did and that we are doing, and we'll come out, we won't go into them 100% right now because that's not what this episode's about, is all the systems we did create. But some of them were the important ones, right? Yeah. Starting off strict, and I have a quick story on that. So anybody who's hiring, even if this is your first guy that you're hiring, be very, very strict from day one. Even be an asshole day one, right? Be as rude as you can day one. And then you can slowly lighten up as time goes on. Mm-hmm. Because if you're an asshole from day one, and then you decide a year later and you're rude again, they're just going to chalk it off as, hey, here, check. He's just who he is, right? He was this way in the beginning. We ended up doing a good job. He was friends with me, and then he flipped and got mad at me again. But that's just who he is. That's okay.
Yeah.
You start off all fluffy and lovey and, everything good. Mm-hmm. You can't get mad at them because now they think you hate them.
Yeah.
That's not who you are. So now it's hard to go back. And I actually learned that my sister had a boss that was that way. She was a bitch. Mm-hmm. That's how she explained it. Like, this person was the worst person. And then like 6 months in, 8 months in, it was like they were super nice. It was like this, so weird. Mm-hmm. But in the beginning, they were always just jerks.
Yeah.
And they ended up sitting down finally. My sister talked to him and said, hey, why do you do that? And they said exactly that. Well, if I start off nice, I can't be rude to you later. I can't come and discuss anything with you. It's not going to work. Mm-hmm. If I start off this way, the expectation is I am that type of person. So now if I go back and I get mad at you or something does happen, it is what it is. Yeah. You're just going to, whatever.
Yeah.
That's just who they are. I understand. I need to learn and you get better. That's just what it is.
Yeah.
But if you're nice and they're perfect and they don't do anything wrong and you never tell that, you can't go back. You ruin it. It's done. Because then they're going to be like, well, you're picking on me. And you can't come back from it.
There's no way.
Uh-huh.
There's just no way.
Because now they go and manipulate it and change it to be, well, you're rude. Mm. You're rude to me. Mm-hmm. Well, if I was rude to you from the beginning, then I'm just a rude person.
Yeah.
So it makes it a lot easier.
Yeah.
So creating those systems did help, and starting off in different ways is a huge help. So if you're hiring someone, be strict from day one, mm-hmm. Ride them from day one, be that way. Then you can lighten up.
Yeah.
And then if you go back and you start riding them again, it's just who you are. Mm-hmm. There's no difference. It's all right. They know that. That's what you did from the beginning. They may take it as you don't trust them, but it's perfect. But create those systems. And that's what we did with these, with the personnel change and seeing these red flags and understanding those red flags a lot better. Mm-hmm. And we actually called it on multiple people
Yeah.
that this is done. This is done. I mean, literally on 3 people that came in and out. We caught the red flags. We saw it. We even said, red flag. This is a big red flag.
Yeah.
I remember on one of them, we're like, it's a 2 for 1. We getting rid of 2 guys on one day. What's going on?
Yeah.
So that's a huge one. But not everything is bad and negative, guys. So don't think that we're talking about this and like, oh man, that's got to suck to be there. We've done some really cool things too, you know, so some of the incentives to boost morale and growth, because everyone should have it. There should be some positive, and there needs to be a benefit of doing a good job. You know, what are some of the stuff that we're doing for these guys?
Oh, we have a lot of good stuff planned.
Yeah, we do. I mean,
aside from the monthly rewards for being the best driver, we have monthly team events, quarterly larger team events. I mean, we even talked about doing like barbecues here at the office, going to the indoor kart racing again, going like axe throwing. And obviously those are going to be attainable by a few metrics. You know, the group has to be over a certain driving score. There has to be a certain, you know, there are certain rules with that, but like I said, giving them something more to look forward to has been a big part of it, and getting them the team involvement.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The incentives we also did, we're going to do for the best technician. We're giving away a Grom. So a little motorcycle. So that is going to be given away at the end of the year for the best guy. Driving records part of it. Showing up on time's part of it. There's a lot of little metrics, and it's going to be based off of a score. So the best man's going to win, right? So we're giving them the opportunity, because there needs to be the benefit of doing a good job, not just the consequence. And I don't want to focus. And sometimes you get on that where you start focusing on every bad thing, but you don't focus on the good things either, right? Because the good things are expected.
Sure.
You're expected to show up on time. You know, not everybody does it, and then we reprimand once it doesn't happen, but we're never praising for them for being on time and doing that consistently for months on end.
Yeah.
You know, we just assume that it is what it is and it should be that way. But there also needs to be that benefit of being that way. You know, they need to be praised for that. So creating those incentives is really a big thing to help with that. And our push and what a lot of the incentives are for is exactly, it's safety. You need to be safe, but you also need to push for growth.
Yeah.
You know, so with the growth mind, you know, the mindset there, they're pushing for more than just driving safe. You know, let's push for more revenue, more sales, more upsells, everything. You know, so that's kind of a really cool thing. Looking back, you know, on how we started 2023 to how we ended, what do you see some of the big changes? What are you seeing?
I see a lot of good changes. I see, you were just talking about, you know, what we were able to see, what we were able to take from those experiences. And I think it translates a lot more than just, you know, the ones making those decisions and implementing the systems. I think it goes down to the technicians or some of the entry-level office people as well, because we crack down on somebody that's showing red flags, that's saying, you know, absurdities, showing up late, who's contradicting themselves. We get rid of them quickly.
Yeah.
We learn a lot more about ourselves too, about the business, where we want things to go.
Yep.
B, the technicians see, oh shit, nobody's safe here. Like, I actually like that guy, and they just canned his ass because I don't know why. You know, we ended up having a meeting where we actually went through and talked about these kind of things because we want to be open and to a certain degree.
Yeah.
But I think over the year, it's just been growth, and it's not necessarily just in the business, but it's just individually too, and how it works with the team. I think that people are growing into their specific roles better. I think having that allows the business to grow even faster, and where everyone can see it more, where it was in the past, technicians were just doing their routes. They were doing their weeks, their months, checking in, getting a pizza party every now and then, getting a high five. And now it's like, no, there are real opportunities, but we are not going to slow down. Either you're with us or you're not.
Yeah, you're against us.
You know, and and you say that all the time, and it's so true. And if you're not with us, you're against us, and that can even be something as so small as you choosing not to leave a door tag, or you not following the instructions in the notes to call the customer when you're on your way. Those little details means you're against us and you're against the growth when you're defying your responsibilities to do that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I think the attention to detail and enforcing those details have been something that we've been good at, but also on the tech side, the ones who want to stay here and grow, they've seen the growth and they've been a part of that growth and had those benefits.
Yeah.
You know, so I think I've seen a lot of ups and downs, but it's everybody can see them too.
Yeah.
You know, collectively, I think we're in a lot better headspace than we were this time last year. And we're a lot more prepared for a lot of the aggressive sales and growth goals we have.
Yeah. And that's for everyone. When you're out there, you know, you're starting something, you're getting into it. You know, we got to meet some people out in Hawaii, a guy who is actually planning on starting his own thing. You know, there's so much more to it that you don't get to see and you don't get to realize until you start to grow, until you start to hit some of those things. Mm-hmm. You know, there's so much more to a pest control business than getting in a truck and spraying chemicals.
Yes.
You know, there's so much more to it. It's not as simple as I'm just going to go out and I'm going to sell and it's going to grow. And it doesn't work that way. Mm-hmm. There's got to be the processes. There's got to be the systems, and there's got to be stuff there. And some of those systems you can't be prepared for. That's the crazy part about it, is you think, oh, well, I'll be ready for everything.
Yeah.
Well, how? You don't know when your guy's going to get in a car wreck, mm-hmm. or how many. Mm-hmm. You don't know the process until you start going through some of those things, right? Even then, when you have 5 guys, it's different from 10 guys. Mm-hmm. And it's different from 15 and 20. Now, the cool thing is most people are going through all the same stuff, mm-hmm. but you don't get to see that. You don't get to see something until you get sued or you get into a problem with an employee, right? How do you prepare for that? You almost can't. You know, some people who've been through it can. Yeah. They're ready for it. But you're starting fresh. You're 20 years old. You think you're going to conquer the world. You have no idea what's about to come. Mm-hmm. Unless you have a mentor, you have somebody who's in it and involved. And even a mentor, sometimes they're not going to think of every little detail and every little problem that they went through. Mm-hmm. They're just giving you the points to grow as quickly as possible. And then it's like, oh, yeah, I remember when that happened that one time. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is what you got to do now. Yeah. You know, but it's like you can't, sometimes it is tough on that. Mm-hmm. But it's keeping that open mind and understanding what has happened is just going to help you in the future, as long as you learn from it, as long as you take that and change. Mm-hmm. If you don't do that, of course, you're going to make the same mistake over and over, and you're going to have problems. But when it comes to personnel, when it comes to changes, when it comes to positions, when it comes to things like that, create that time and that space to be able to focus on each person. That's something that we did as well. That was really cool. As we went through and we started focusing on each person that was here, and we saw the future for them, mm-hmm. you know, and we saw, okay, where are they going to do best due to who they are? Mm-hmm. And something that we haven't done still, which we talk about, but we've kind of built a mental note of it, is what Ray Dalio does in his business. Well, what he did in his business, where they essentially made baseball cards for all the employees, and they essentially had their stats. We know the people who are going to call out sick mm-hmm. every month. We know that mentally. We don't have it written down, but we could. We
you and I know that, though.
Yeah. You know, we know who's going to call out on vacation or take a weekend or not show up on Monday because they're quote unquote sick or have an upset tummy. Mm-hmm. You know, we know all that stuff. We've built that on each guy. We know who can handle so many appointments and who can't. We know who can handle the drive time and who can't. We know who can do certain appointments, specialty appointments, and who can't. So it's really cool to see that, and it's something that we need to actually implement and actually write it down, which will be good instead of just taking the mental note. But as you grow, you get to see those things with those guys, and taking that time to focus on their future, on where they can get, is another fulfilling thing, because now it's not now it's not really their choice.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it sounds bad, that we're not giving them that choice, but we get to see who this person really is. This is where their full potential is going to get to, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Which is perfect. This guy is a route technician, possibly a trainer. That's it. That's the cap. And that's literally where this guy's going to go. But it's so cool to see that and say, okay, we got a plan for him. And we know he's going to be happy because of what's happened in the past and because of everything that's gone on.
Yeah.
This is where he's going to be the best. And we've pulled that with each of these guys.
Yeah.
And so taking that time and doing that for each guy that you're bringing on or each person, whether they're in the office, and seeing that, it's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else? What else has been going on? What else have, from where we started to where we are now?
I think we hit on good points. I'll piggyback on what you were just saying. I use this analogy with you a lot about how people define success and failure. And, I don't consider the people we've brought on and let go as failures, I think it's great learning opportunities. And
oh yeah,
you can ask a guy, it's like, or a guy or girl, it's like, think about your ex relationships. It's like, let's say you have 5 ex-girlfriends. It's like, were those 5 failed relationships? I mean, maybe, but I look at it as like, those are 5 different times I learned a lot more about myself and what I actually want to do. Similar to what we're doing in the business. Dude, we took a lot of L's this year, but the cool thing is we turned those L's into great systems and plans and policies and position changes and trying certain things. It's like so much came out of getting knocked on our ass over and over and over again, where it builds that resiliency.
Yeah.
Even this morning on my way in, you're like, hey, you better call your guy. He has a 9 a.m. appointment and it's like 8:59. I'm like, oh, God damn it. But it's like, I'm prepared for that stuff. Even though I'm not prepared, it's like my mind is prepared to just do it.
Yeah.
I think that's the emphasis that.
Yeah. And that's something that so many people don't get to see and don't get to understand, is the losses that so many go through. And that shapes who they become and who they are. And even some businesses, that's what they become better and greater because of it and bigger, and others fell because of it. And even on a personal level, what's great is even, to where we are today and where the business is. And it's awesome. We have the opportunity to do what we do. And we have what we have. But even the closest people to you don't get to see that sometimes.
Oh, I hear it all the time. I want to be doing what you're doing. I'm like, no, you don't.
Well, they don't. Well, it's funny. They don't see it, but they're so blind to it. It's like, I'll give you a good example. So this will bring you back before the podcast was even started.
Ooh.
I'm in a truck. It's me, another guy, one person in the office. That's it. I'm running 22 appointments a day, maybe 25 appointments a day. Depends on the day and how quickly I get them done. Then I start pulling from the day ahead. I'm getting home literally 5, 6, 7 o'clock at night, every night, waking up at 5 a.m. every day. Mother-in-law comes into town. She sees this. She's watching it. I mean, she's seeing me go through this 6 days a week, sometimes 7, and you fast forward 4 or 5 years and it's like, oh, how nice it would be, and it's funny. You get to see these things in front of it, just like the crap you go through, right? All the shit that you've done and gone through, and the late nights, the early mornings, and everyone's like, oh, I want to do that. And it's like, you have no idea what it takes to do what I'm doing. You can't even work 6 days a week. And you want to do what I'm doing? No, you don't. You don't want to do what I'm doing. You want to have what I have, but you don't want to do what I'm doing.
Yeah.
That's the difference. They see what you have. They see what it is. They see that, and they see what you've made it be and the happiness that you have. They want that.
Yeah.
They don't want to do it. There's a big difference between doing and having.
True. Very true.
Most people don't want to do it. They just want to have it.
That's a good point.
I want to have what that person has. I want to have the nice car. I want to go on these. I want to go see these places. I want to go do those things. I don't want to do what it takes to do that, though.
Yeah.
I just want it. Yeah. And we all did too. The difference is we did it. They just got to see it. Now they want to have it. They just don't want to do the process. So that's a huge thing that I keep in the back of my mind, and I get reminded, which is great because we talk to my mother-in-law still. And so I get reminded of it every time she says something stupid. And it's like, you dummy, you saw me go through the shit I went through.
Yeah.
And now it's just like, oh, you're so lucky. And it's like, oh, really?
Yeah.
I was just so lucky I didn't get to sleep for a couple of days. Yeah, that was luck, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
But keep that in mind, because that's fuel to the fire. That's fuel when it comes into seeing people and personnel. It's fuel when you're going into it and you're seeing these red flags. It's all fuel. The losses is fuel. It does not bring me down. It's not bad fuel. That is positive. Let's go. We saw it. We know what we're looking for. We know the bad. We know the red flags. We know how to change it. We know how to move forward.
Yeah. 100%.
So
100%. Well, I hoped everybody learned a lot in this episode, and I hope everybody learned a lot about themselves and about the business over the past year.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we have tons and tons of great, ambitious goals that we'll be sharing a little bit more with you in depth as the year goes on and as it gets more specific to that time. But we want to know what you guys have going on too. I mean, we've been talking a lot about what we have going on, but please, we love, if you're willing to share some of these things on the podcast, whether it's growth things, whether it's things that have worked, what hasn't worked, hiring, firing, safety, some of the topics we've talked about. Please send in your questions to our Instagram. You can go online, send us an email directly. But thank you again for listening to the DNA Pest Control Podcast.